The ones at Roost I left up through ECAC, so
Yeah.
those are still there. There are 3 at Town and Country on Saranac Ave that were like buried in 5
Frozen.
feet of snow.
Yeah,
I couldn't get to the pots, and there's one at the Club Lodges. Everything else is out.
okay,
All the hanging baskets are down, all the swags are down, the window box liners are all back at the greenhouse. So all I have to do,
toboggan chute.
those, I'm hoping the guys are gonna take those down because
Yeah.
I can't lift those.
What, and they go over the railings too.
Yeah, so I told Jeremy that if he had the opportunity to have the guys take them down, to just drop them at the greenhouse and I
Yeah.
would put them away.
Okay,
So whenever he has
well,
time
they're
to do
still
that.
picking up over there anyway.
Yeah, so, and I haven't spoken to Jeremy in a few days, so I can remind him when I see him. Scott helped me take the trees out. and
That's what I
He
thought.
was so fantastic.
Good.
He really was wonderful. We did it in about a day and a half and it was just shy of 100 trees.
Good.
He's
So-
such a talker. I'm surprised it didn't take you long.
Well, there were a couple instances where we got talking and I was like, you just drove by the trees. And he's like, well, you didn't tell me to stop. And I was like, it was in my head. I don't know why you can't read my mind. I'm not used to working with someone who doesn't know where everything is, so.
All right, give us a couple-minute version of library. I'd like to know where we're at.
So I had the library came back with why did you ask us for so much money? And
Yeah.
I said, well, this is what it's going to cost for this year. Last year, Dan had donated a bunch of plants.
Right.
And then Gerard's took over, like Dan paid for Gerard's to do it. So, and it ended up being very confusing and the thing's not looking well because we were paid to take care of it. But Gerard's was watering them every day, so they were dying.
Is that true? So there was double,
Oh, yeah, it was rough.
yeah,
So I went back with pick a place. Either we're gonna do it or they're gonna do it. No skin either way, like just tell me who you
good
want.
direction.
And that was a month ago. And today she came back with, so what's happening and where are the pots? Because all of the pots have disappeared. I guess they're switching to
Village picked up.
smaller concrete pots all
Oh,
over.
that's the village changing.
Yes, the village changing and Scott picked up the 3 pots that were in front because I assumed from our conversation a month ago that they were going to have Gerard's or Dan or whoever do it.
Yeah,
So,
so the ones we picked up are ours?
yes,
Okay,
yep. And Rick just oversaw the email that Kathy and I put together that says, if you want it, happy to do it. This is what it's gonna cost and this is what I need it. And we will bring our pots back, the pots that belong to us.
yeah,
If you want someone else to do it, that's completely fine. Just tell them that you need containers
yeah,
and left it
Okay.
at that. So, and then everybody else who hasn't paid got another copy of the letter today with the deadline that says, if you want it, no problem. I need to have money by the 11th of April
yeah.
to do plants, because that gives me time to get the spring plants here.
How many have not confirmed?
We have 57 total for this year. And 21 of them yesterday when I ran the list had not.
Okay, so you sent out the letters.
So I sent them out again. Yeah, well, and a couple of them, I only sent 16 because a couple of them had just gotten a second copy, like something had been changed. They had asked for, a change in what it was. So I sent 16 of them back out.
Okay,
So if all of them said no, I could probably block this year by myself. It would really, go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, which leads us to the next point.
Shelley,
Yeah,
I really, really, really would like to have her be able to start next week. I don't need her full-time, but we
did you
have,
send a list of the duties that you need her for? So
oh, I can, I need,
This isn't the first time
I'm sorry, so
is
you,
this the first time I've asked for this?
I apologize. So you need a list of what you need.
I want to know what you need her for.
Okay, I need to get the rest of the greens.
I'm
in.
not doubting you, but
Plans in.
I want to know.
Okay,
Yeah,
no, I'm sorry.
Her duties, right.
Right now.
And then in the summer.
Yeah, I understand,
Okay, so
but the
here's-
plants are here.
Here's my big issue. She leaves the 11th of April for 2 weeks. So anything that hasn't been prepped and ready to go by then, I don't have her because she had already planned to be gone those 2 weeks.
Okay, other than waiting for these 16 people to tell you yes or no, you don't have plant material here now, so I wanna know what are you
I
doing
have to
right
get
now?
rid of all of the greens that are still in all of the planters.
Okay,
And all of the canna lilies, all of the begonias, all of the bulbs that I put in my basement for the winter, all have to come out and get planted.
the greens that are in the planters are last year's
Yeah.
annuals,
No, last year's greens like balsam,
okay.
all of that has to get taken out. So that it can
Now, where
thaw.
are those pots now?
Not, well, there are some pots, but like Central has that big sign.
Yeah,
I've got about 25 places like that.
okay,
Big,
but that's what I need,
it's a lot of,
that
if
helps
I,
me
have to
understand
cut it,
why we need the person.
if I have to cut that, it will take me a week and a half.
In
or
your
more by
mind, you know
myself.
what you want this person to do. I need to know.
Okay, so
And you want to ChatGPT what you need her for. ChatGPT.
I'll help you with, I'll help you with the prompts.
Well, that is,
No.
I'll still get paid and I don't have to come to work.
Well, I don't know, it's financial.
I'm just checking.
Yeah, it doesn't do matter.
Personal reference, and stuff is nice. Probably a version of this accounting, if you want to learn that.
so that's my big problem is that we have her starting
Yeah.
and she's leaving.
Okay,
So if we can get some of it done before she goes,
yeah,
so that if the plants show up 2 days after she's left the country,
you're ready.
I need to be ready. I need to
Okay.
have everything prepped,
All right.
or I am not gonna be able to pull off spring by myself.
How do you want to move forward? Do you want to get that list and then we discuss? Yeah, that makes the most sense.
Okay,
We'll just have to do it via email, like.
Right,
sorry.
Yeah.
I will send it right now. I'll go
Okay.
upstairs and do it.
good.
Okay,
All right,
anything else?
that's
That I-
perfect. That covers all points.
Okay, well, that's
Perfect.
Sienna.
Thank you.
All right, see you guys. later. Thank you.
Chop, chop.
I'm going.
Take care.
Very efficient.
I hate to follow up. I do have a heart.
And that's.
Fine.
Six around
Yeah.
the world. and
I
I've
know
been chasing
sexy
for
comes with
5
their
years.
powers.
Yeah.
They, they know that you've done these, or do you?
Yeah. You have to submit all your information, but then after I got this one, you go to a different area. And this was to pick up this one. Like you have to have it all registered. You don't just show up and be like, yeah, I did it.
And when you start putting them.
Yeah, so it's gonna go,
So that represents 6 times 26 miles.
yes, 26.2. Come on, it's the
26.2.
0.2 that kills you.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so
When
yeah,
you start, when you're doing 14, 15, 16 of these things, the 0.2 adds up.
26, I think now.
That's impressive.
Okay, so, where are we? We're meeting with Tam Smith tomorrow in the office about the septic law. I know
Yeah.
that's been hanging out there. And, he feels like, we feel like it's a couple of easy changes. He wanted to maybe rewrite or tweak some other things, so we'll work it out.
Yeah.
Get that to you.
Now, I want to just raise one situation that, I don't know if you were on the boat then, but Dick was for sure. Where we have found discrepancies over gray water being pumped to the top of that west shore ledge.
Mm-hmm.
And it is effluent on the top of the ground. And DEC chose not to even respond,
Correct.
pre-existing the whole bit.
And DOH.
Yeah, and DOH.
Yeah.
Those are situations when we change this law that are gonna bite us.
Yes,
So,
for sure.
so Tim needs to understand.
Yeah.
Writing a law could mean nothing at all. So,
Yeah.
so when we try to enforce.
Yeah.
And take somebody, and we've got somebody like the Environmental Conservation Department that doesn't wanna recognize that. Gray water
Mhm.
storage on top of the ground that gets into a tributary that goes back into the lake.
Right.
You tell me if the effort is worth it. Like 9 out of 10 times, yes, you tell somebody that's selling a camp. The septic system's gotta be up to par. 9 out of 10 times it's straightforward.
Yeah,
But tell me how it's straightforward with our famous volleyball court owner over there. Where in the middle of the summer, his people playing volleyball could be standing in that much of a failed leach field. How do you enforce that? I didn't use the name because we're being
No.
recorded.
no, I know how you
You
mean.
didn't swear either.
So
Um,
I'm in full agreement with moving ahead
Yeah.
with something stringent that protects our water source.
Yeah.
But I also want it known that we have our own challenges in trying to enforce this stuff.
Sure. Yeah, nothing is gonna be perfect. I mean,
Correct.
that's,
The enforcement's the hardest part of all that we do.
But don't we have a fine system in place, or is it the theory is to find them?
yeah, but
So-
this one example, DEC and DOH went out there and they're like, oh, it's fine. And it's like, how can we?
Been
Talk to
there
their
for
supersede,
Yeah.
about their concern.
Yeah.
And we've always, yes, a fine might prompt someone to act a little sooner, maybe, but honestly, at the end of the day, these are expensive systems to install, so a fine from us, like, we would rather the system get fixed out
100%.
than worrying about the fine, but
But I guess the fine
Yeah.
system, from my perspective, and not to belabor the point, well, at least would have some sort of
oh,
stake
yeah, we
to
have
say, hey, we
definitely.
have an expectation.
I mean, the other thing is that we have fined people, they paid the fine and the system is not getting,
We
Thanks.
just need a bigger fine.
so, so,
Last
Right,
point I'd
it's all-
like to make, and of course, this proposed law will come in front of us
yes.
prior.
Yeah.
But I am not in agreement with any kind of statement in the sale of a place then, if we're gonna write it,
Mhm.
that lets the new owner agree to within 6 months, I'll fix it.
I agree.
I think that's a caveat that, again, is gonna
Okay,
get us.
Why, does that say that in there now?
No, but I'm guessing
Those are thought
that-
process.
there's language in there that says, an agreement has to be made between the seller and the buyer as to when this would be fixed, but it doesn't give some kind of deadline.
What about with the deadline and escrow on that? You know what I mean?
Right, just protections.
Yes.
Yeah,
So we'll work through that.
That's almost, that's necessary to include in language.
Yeah,
Have you relayed that to Tim?
yeah, he knows that. So,
yeah.
so anyway, tomorrow's, we're getting together.
Thank him for jumping.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't pull anything, you know, from so fast.
Uh,
2 years.
I like you, Tim.
We all do.
Yeah,
what else?
I have a couple of things.
Yeah,
for-
yeah, yeah.
So I sent Mark Schaffner our land use code revisions that
Yeah.
I showed to the board when Mark was here.
Mhm.
And I followed that, then I was there, so I followed up with him this week, and he got back to me, but I was in the middle of an interview with the PGA guy. So I talked to him quickly, and he would have pulled a new colleague in, so no one we'd ever heard of before, which is fine. I'm
Yeah.
sure you've got good zoning experience. And he said, I'm gonna make this as quick as I can. If you have two draft, like, we have a draft law for special events and we have a draft law for temporary workforce. He said, if you guys do that in-house and turn it into like, land use code language,
Yeah,
you're gonna save a lot of money. And I was like, I don't wanna do that. And he said, we'll do it for you for the right price. So I don't know how you feel about that, like, actually, I mean, it's not that hard, but it's like, does your office have time to do that? Or could we make Barry do it? I already gave Barry a job project. I heard him come through on the project.
I think, I'd say he's busy right now with some review board stuff.
Right.
I
I just don't have the, like, I could get that done maybe before I go on spring break, but like, I don't think I get it done before then.
mean, yeah, I feel like you already have it.
this is the
Sort of in
special
our
events
draft
one?
form.
Yeah, but it's not like, it's not in like a, like, you know, it should be like, say, like, it should be exactly what's gonna be plugged in.
Oh, I
Right,
see.
like section.
Okay,
And in the same format and style as that,
okay,
which it's not exactly.
okay.
That's for ChatGPT.
Well, it originally came from chat, and that's like, I was thinking maybe I could like dump all of that into chat and then
Yeah.
like follow the format.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that'll actually take some more play than actually doing it myself. I just need to sit down and think about it. I haven't had a lot of time, like.
Right. That's
Uh,
what we're all lacking.
yeah, but
Um,
you don't think that's out of the question, right? Like, we don't have to ask Mark's office to
I
do.
mean, I thought we were asking Mark to like clarify and look at the language from his lawyer hat,
So, yeah, he said,
not necessarily where to put it in our.
well, what he's saying is that it's not to his level yet. He feels like we can do one more rendition that puts it into more exact language that follows the code, and then he will do his lawyery thing
Mm.
after that. So he thinks we still have one more step to save us money before it goes to him. And I didn't get to talk to him about the
And-
other three,
Okay,
which was like late. So I have to call him back, but maybe we could try, maybe we could try together
Yeah.
to call him sometime this,
Okay.
I don't know what day. we're-
and I mean, are you just saying that, I mean, Tim has always done all of our land use stuff in the past, are we trying to not
Yeah,
bog down the?
I think we're trying not to bog down the system.
Okay.
You're
And
trying to get it done.
yeah, and when Mark was here, we had a conversation about how Mark would obviously be in consult and would consult with Tim at some point to say like, you know, how do you, like, does this follow your flow and your format?
Mhm.
But I mean, attorneys are attorneys, but
Yeah, doing other
one
stuff,
that's being a little bit more responsive right now than the other. You know,
maybe.
In that same vein.
Yeah.
I have to interrupt and say, does a lawyer have to do a seeker response for the town? Or could your code office
what are
read the
yours?
questions?
What-
We need to do a seeker on the airport runway project.
Actually, there's two there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see, in the past, anytime as a board, we've answered to seeker, Ron Briggs always,
I was gonna say, I feel like it's your board and usually Ron or whoever.
and
So-
we've sent a thing to Mark with no response back, so,
Mark's the seeker guy.
Yeah.
right,
He like teaches classes.
He does.
okay.
Is he okay? Have we heard from him?
No, I'm gonna have to call him in the
Yeah.
morning.
I
That's
did-
why I was wondering if somebody, if a non-lawyer can administer a seeker.
I'm gonna say no.
Okay,
He would be the one to,
sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. Yeah, and just a reminder that Mark Shackner takes phone calls and that, so I it's the phone call so I emailed him like over a week ago and then I heard nothing and I called and I heard back from him the same day.
yes,
So that is the preferred
He
method.
hates emails.
yes, he does.
Sometimes I just need to get information to him and then I call.
Right,
Yeah.
right. The-
And then-
So I feel like we could make that happen.
yeah, but I didn't get to finish our conversation because he had he was gonna tell me something else about the other three things.
Yeah.
Which were like the repealing of political campaign signage. And I feel like that was an easier.
That's easy.
conversation. Yeah, so, maybe we can try and call him tomorrow.
Well, we just plain lost that one.
Yeah.
So this is about the special events and the temporary housing.
Yeah, well, those are the two that we got to cover, but then within that same document was the lighting signage. Some signs, ADUs as STRs,
Mm,
and there might have been one more. And if we're gonna do this all in one chunk, we should just throw septic law in there.
And
that's its own thing though.
You think so?
It is, it's not land use.
Anyone else?
the one you don't like, you're arguing that with open houses.
Oh, I don't care. The open houses thing is dead to me.
Yeah, I know, to you it is. As
So if someone else
I
wants,
forgot about that one, yes.
but
long as we
Have
come
you
up with
guys
a
talked
decision,
about
we can do that.
yeah,
This is a open house sign?
yeah,
Didn't we just have a conversation
told
about a month
Roby to
ago
call you,
saying that we
Jason.
have the language?
he wouldn't call you. He just called me.
But it's-
And,
we have
You
the-
should hear what he called her.
Wait, who called? Oh,
So Roby and I have definitely talked about this.
Yes, the
I-
last I remember
Yep.
is no more than two signs, one at the location
Mhm.
and one at the nearest Main Street intersection.
Okay.
And after the open house is over, they come up. Even if there's an open house the next day, they don't
Right.
sit overnight.
Right.
And the
I think
infraction,
we've said an hour before, an hour after.
Yeah.
And that's it. Okay. So how do y'all feel about that? Because, right,
That is a change.
yes,
Yeah.
that would be a change. So the change would be, you can always have one on the property, it's the one at the nearest major intersection, I
Right.
guess. So that always breeds the
isn't.
clarification.
Yeah,
I mean, if it's Whiteface Inn Road, okay, we know what that is, but if you're on Northwood Road, which end?
yeah. Well, it's-
86 end or Mirror Lake Drive end?
Put it this way, it's their choice, you get two signs.
Okay, okay,
I mean, that's the way I see it.
that's a good pitch. I haven't, if you guys are okay with that.
I know, we're being recorded.
This is so neat though.
Then the other thing I wanted to bring up, because I think the whole board was on one of the emails, or at least a few of us were, the one from Jill and Travis Funk, who complained about Snowslip Farms.
Yeah,
And then, I think, was everyone on that? So I replied to her saying that both Darcy and I were out of town and then we
Yeah.
regrouped. I have talked to Darcy about it very briefly, and I talked to David about it, and David did do his own research and like submitted the forms and saw that it pretty clear, all used to.
No, it clearly says right on it that they can offer up to 150 guests on it.
Yeah, which is clear violation.
yeah.
But you have to put an email in to get that information.
Yeah. And then I think
So we've
some
got-
point Jill.
You want to put your, like, all the.
I did.
They still sending the information.
It falls.
Must be, oh, the follow-up is
Yeah, and like,
confusing.
maybe they would have, Jill Funk's name would have triggered something, and they're like, why are we responding to Jill Funk?
Not systematic.
Yeah.
That's
Did
what
you
chat
have
tells
anybody
you guys.
So the important part of that discussion is what you were telling to me on the different
Watch out.
zoning areas where the use could apply.
Yes, but this is rural countryside, right? So like this, like someone like Jill Funk is gonna be very unhappy, which she said in there, like, when can I comment on the proposed special events? But before we even get there, the point is that they are violating the
Yeah.
short-term rental.
Currently,
Yes.
Right.
right?
So I just asked Darcy to let me know what she did for follow-up, and I would communicate that to Jill.
Yeah,
We've got a letter from the last time, so we're going to just get that out, kind of restructure it for now and send it.
I mean, it's just crazy to think that like, what if they already have like 2 or 3 or 10 weddings, what's for the summer that are 150 people? Like, that's insane. And a clear violation of short-term rental.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do? Cause I'm assuming this is the bridge we're gonna have to cross, cause if they do have bookings, and they usually do 6 months a year in advance, if not more, we're gonna be running into that.
well, and that's why I say I'd like us to have the conversation that, yeah, if you own 200 acres, there's certain uses you should be able to do, but regulated
Yeah,
seems to be where we need to go.
but right now, they're-
Instead of turning a rural countryside into a commercial use property, but still give people rights to have some latitude in what they do with their property. Listen, it won't be easy to figure out the language.
but I do think that we could be running into problems because like Jason said, like maybe they've already
Maybe.
booked 6 weddings. at
Right.
150
We'll have to
people.
see.
And I obviously don't have the answer for what are we gonna do, but.
Yeah.
But that's not the only area that does that. Isn't, is it Averyville or, Bear Cub? Is,
Bear Cub slips on Bear Cub.
Yeah, this is. the-
oh, it is on Bear Cub. Where am I thinking? Going out to, I guess Averyville's the other big one. Nobody does it out there.
Heaven help, is that what you're thinking?
Well, same Bear Cub.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the other big one used to be River Ranch, but I don't think
oh,
River Ranch
that's right.
does it anymore.
No,
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
okay, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
on the-
So you're gonna send out a letter to the operators of this property?
Yeah, we did this, whatever, a year ago or something, so we just gotta get that letter and rework the language and
Okay.
say like, hey, because
There's gonna be something.
when we did it a year ago, he said, oh my gosh, okay, oversight, and they changed their website. But now,
There's for more inquiries, like submit this.
Yes. and that has not been changed, so, okay,
Maybe that's just a
Maybe-
typo. I mean,
maybe it's an oversight
because
still.
I do feel like he responded so well last time.
He did,
We give them the benefit of the doubt, I
Right.
guess, until.
You'll know if there's 1,000 people lined up. to
yeah,
come here.
until we know something else, so we'll follow up with that one.
And be like, we're gonna keep emailing you. So we're gonna keep checking this.
But that's the beauty. of
Yeah.
that. It
No
is
problem.
gone, so we can screenshot all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the two things.
Okay, yeah, I don't. We've been busy this week with inspections, right? The good weather's got everybody building again and doing their thing, so. We've been busy and we, right, between the septic stuff and then all of our assembly spaces, we got a lot on our plate.
So we're busy this summer.
Oh, yeah,
Hmm.
busy.
Good.
Um,
The heating system back up and going, I take it over at
Yeah,
View.
they got that going that same day, or this happened in the overnight, so in the day, the repairman was there and fixed it, so. We still got a few little tweaks with them, but
Okay,
they got heat.
so I'm guessing if you were to put all those medals around your neck, you couldn't run because your head would be on the ground.
Yes, I could. I have strong legs.
That I challenge you to swim.
Yeah, swimming, I don't know. That's asking a lot, you know. Wetsuit, no wetsuit, yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
What, Haley, sucker? Tom not here? Okay.
From upstairs, but.
Good point.
Haley, come on up, give. Well, with Kenny's here, I'm gonna bring up, so we can share like where we're at with Lodro.
Yes, that was on my thing. So can you send me some like draft, like just pretty much the basic stuff that needs to be done? So I don't know what like normal bid documents for this kind of stuff look like, but I can figure something out. And then I can send that to, what is it, the DEC, yeah.
Yeah,
Just to review to make sure all the required language is in there before it goes out.
you're just gonna do a scope of work.
That's basically what I've done in the past, cause my, like I say, the little skimpy jobs that I do. We're not splitting atoms and there's nobody like to oversee the project, done like this with the state. I'm sure they want certain language in these things that I don't require, you know, for my bid is labor for putting down asphalt, basically so many square feet. It's a little more intricate than
Good.
So this isn't our,
in the right hands.
because the state's paying for it.
Yeah, and so you
Well, we
send
have
it
to
out.
pay for it first.
Yeah. You have to send it out to, just like a typical grant with MWE requirements to certain.
But you do have our portal that's working.
It's technically there and it's technically working. There's like 4 different portals with the state and they're all really confusing, but
Yeah.
yes, it's there. So I'm just gonna reach out to, the MWE person from the DEC and just have
Okay.
them review everything before it goes.
If you get stuck at all and get frustrated, we're gonna jump in the car and we're gonna go right over to Joe Zalewski at Region 5, and we're gonna get it fixed that day.
DEC's been
On-
good. DEC's been okay, but DOS is different, but DEC's been okay so far.
Yeah,
And yeah, but like, I don't really know, like, if you had people in mind for this, because I don't, you know,
for the bid,
for, yeah.
oh, he's got 2 or 3. like
Because
that.
there's, might be restrictions on that based on, again, MWBE requirements.
Yeah,
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it like women-owned company?
Minority women businesses, yeah. And you just send things out, a lot of times they don't even respond, but you have to do it anyway, and then whoever responds.
Then you have to apply for a waiver.
Interesting.
Well, it's really fun.
More paperwork, yeah.
but there is a one company you can go to if you have to.
Yeah, they gave us a list already, so they actually
Listen.
did that. for us.
What?
Yeah.
I know,
She hasn't responded in 4 years,
well,
but I've offered.
yeah,
I've offered.
So I mean, that's where I'm at with that.
that's good.
Otherwise, there's been more reporting for some of the other grants like the comp plan. That is always really fun. And, working on pausing, but picking that up again tomorrow, a grant with the Adirondack Foundation for the childcare thing. But yeah, that's.
For first steps?
Yes.
That's part of what we talked about.
Yeah. Good,
I asked, I CC'd Haley on like 35 emails and she had no idea what it was. So I
It
told
was a fun ride.
I told her that I talked to her about it in workshop because and it's convenient that Shannon is here. And
Probably not for Shannon.
she's like, no, I'm not looking out for my phone.
She must be saying.
So- The, community cleanup rebranded, Lake Placid Village cleanup is now called community cleanup. I still have Lake Placid in it, but we took out village. It was last year, it was taken over by sports, Carlin's
Or Carlin.
Sports Council. Carlin has said, cause then now the sports council basically is one employee and I don't know how long Carlin will be there. So Carlin has said, I can't do it again. I don't have the manpower. So she reached back out to Jackie reached out to me, and she said, this is the town, the town want to take it over, and I said, how about Rotary? And so Rotary is taking it over, but obviously it's in close partnership with the town and the village. And so we started working with a couple Rotarians. We're bringing back the poster contest. It's actually been kind of fun. But I wanted to let the board know that we were moving in that direction. And I don't even think I told Derek, hopefully everyone's okay with that. But I wanted Shannon to say, tell me if what worked, if the system that Carlin developed last year worked well, or what we would prefer for dumping.
No, I don't like their system.
Well,
I like when they had the volunteer drivers go around and pick up and then bring it. Because at the end of this event, they don't tell me where they were, where they left bags, and then I'm getting phone calls all weekend that there's garbage everywhere, and then I have to call people in on overtime. So I think if you're gonna do an event like this, they need to figure their crap out better.
Well, no, I meant about the dumping fees, like about how having like the cars. Cause there's,
Yeah, the ticket is what we need, but we need the drivers.
so
They
they,
didn't have them last year or the year before.
they have 2 village drivers that go around.
Okay.
And
that's
then-
their-
So the last year they had 2 village drivers too.
They don't pick up on town roads.
No, they do. I asked Jackie that. And I said, your guys will go out. She said, yes, well, they'll go wherever they're picking up. And they usually have 1 or 2 volunteer drivers if needed, but it's usually, like Jackie said that usually the village guys can handle all of it. Because they spend like the whole morning and into the early afternoon doing loops. But maybe what would be helpful is if you had the number of those drivers, so if someone's calling you, you can call the drivers.
Yeah.
And then Carlin had did it, so they were, every time the village guys went, they had a unique ticket
Yes.
that they were handing. in.
It's just a pass that says Community Day in a different color, but it's gonna get charged to that in the computer. Now, I mean, if it's a Saturday, I have no problem taking a town employee from the transfer station, giving them a truck, having them do town roads.
Okay.
But
It's a
I-
Saturday.
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause we had that last year with many dump, like,
I had
we had
to go out
a staff guy.
late in the day.
Cleaning up as well.
yeah,
Good.
it was, at the end of the day, I got phone calls, so I did send it back after it.
And over in Kempy Pond Room, something, when your neighbors call, gotta pick up his bags.
What is my in-laws?
So they do a cleanup town-wide per se. Like,
Yeah.
the same person, or maybe it's a smaller group over in Mackenzie Pond Road, they always clean and then we go pick up their garbage.
Well, there's a lady over there that picks up.
Just
Just,
the kindness of her heart.
Yeah. she'll call us and say, I picked up 4 bags along the road. They're marked a certain color, and one of the guys picks it up on his way through. And she does that for the whole month.
Well, if there's anything that you think can make the process better.
No, I just think better communication. There was no communication last year.
Identification, and everything.
Yeah, and like, village guys are coming in, but they're not saying village cleanup.
So the
So
village
we're
guys
getting
didn't even
charged
have
to
the
the-
ticket? They didn't show their
No.
tickets?
They didn't show anything.
Okay.
I
So
think they, when they go.
maybe if they just give me the drivers' names, they don't even need the ticket as long as I have the driver's name, know the village workers. I could just say, Joe and Jack are coming in and it's all community day, Cause last year it got put on Main Street. It's a camp.
And that could be confusing. I think
Yes.
Greg Suzanne did,
Yeah.
after he finished Main Street, he started picking up, so.
Yeah.
There needs to be a differentiation of.
Yeah, but
just which.
I think I think it's actually good to have village drivers who are doing community cleanup give their ticket, because we were hoping that we'd be able to add up our weight. Yeah, so,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and so we know we picked up like, a ton of trash or whatever. it was.
And then if you start measuring over time, you can just kind of have a little contest. where, like-
Yeah, or and like hopefully it goes down.
Yeah, in theory.
and we, at least just tell the drivers that, when you're done doing that, before you do your daily for the village, let them know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the, Greg just goes in and out and doesn't.
And so the reason why we pulled Haley in was because, well, even though she couldn't attend the meeting, but she's on the emails, it's just because there's some continuity in having Haley hold it. So I kind of have added it to her lists of things she does, but Rotary is very, obviously very involved and very, you know, engaged and active organization. And then the village is part of this too, but in terms of having like an institution to hold this, because it was run by volunteers before, we thought the community development office was a good place to have it.
My question was, I saw in meeting notes that there's something I needed to do. Was that?
There was nothing for you to do?
There was something for me to do. I had to like write a press release or something, which is fine. I just wanted.
No, you know what I need you to do is, set up a Facebook page.
Okay, that was also on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what
So
I-
Rotary is going to do the logistics of coordinating.
Yeah, like, look,
Like, what
do it-
middle school, like, where they do the pizza party afterwards or.
we're getting there. We're just getting it all rolling.
But
But there hasn't been a pizza party since probably before COVID, maybe it ended with COVID. So we're gonna try to bring the pizza party back. We're bringing the poster contest back.
Fantastic.
For
So,
the community day.
yeah.
No, for the community.
Yeah. I know, it's confusing.
They did like, in the midst of it, they had like some sort of prize.
Yeah,
I
so,
remembered that, and that was like 1 year that was a lot of people.
yeah, they do the golden eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the golden eggs are hidden and like you go around asking the businesses to donate to the golden egg. So it's like last year, I think they only did like McDonald's and Subway maybe, but we're hoping to kind of grow that. And sometimes Jerry Strack will just give cash, so they would just put like $5 or $10 in the golden egg. But yeah, it's kind of like, it's kind of a fun thing to be, you know, it really brings out it's something fun and not so short-term rental / no slip farmish. So, you know, I'll take it. It's not land use code.
Did you already say the date or didn't you?
May 3rd is the date and May 10th is the rain date.
And the teachers used to do a plunge for a cause at the end of it.
Yeah, that was like before I had kids and
Hmm.
after I was out of school, so I don't remember but we have found out, oh, it's also the 65th year. Daisy, Leonard Scheinfeld, I think is her married name, found, an old newspaper article from 1960. That was the first annual village cleanup,
Wow.
posted, I think it was Garden Club, used to be very tied to Garden Club,
Oh,
so the 65th year.
That's neat.
Yeah.
What else you got? You know, now, all of a sudden, just after a couple of years, even if you put a poster on your office door with all the things you're doing, when we first interviewed you, you'd probably say now, no way in hell.
Well, you
Yeah.
might want to put a whiteboard. It's keeping at it.
My point is, thank you for always.
Oh, all right,
Take it
sorry,
around.
I have one more
It's
thing.
fine.
You sent the recreational.
Oh, yeah, that grant.
I haven't even looked at it, but my question is, what is like, is it even worth it? Because this project is so much money, like what
That's
is,
what I don't know.
what are the dollar amounts? we're talking?
So, I can't remember off the top of my head. I know
that
there's a
the
10% match, which I thought was appealing, but it was, I think it was up to 1 million. It wasn't massive. But it was like not like 50,000. It was like a big enough number. So I don't know if there was a part of it that
Part of the master plan, when's the deadline?
just open. So I think sometime in late April or in May.
And what are the parameters of it?
Recreation.
It's recreation. It's parks recreation. things
Yeah.
like that. It was the
It's
one,
that's one of those.
yeah.
Oh,
She sent that to Jackie. and
Okay.
Chris, and then Jackie was said, oh, something like, I have stuff in the village, and then so one of us said something about showgrounds, and it just.
You went on the Swansville meeting that we just did, April 9th or whatever?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's remember to bring it up.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be in there.
Okay,
Yeah, there's maybe one aspect that we can pull out, a 10% match is pretty good. Like even if it's just like updating parking, like that's
Yeah.
probably almost $1 million.
yeah.
Getting some like real parking lots.
Yes. Thanks.
Thanks.
Like it?
Yeah, all the vodka settled.
Just got you bit from it.
Shannon and Ken, come on up.
Hey, let's go.
Slackers. I'm just here for
What?
Ryan.
Yeah, Sparker.
These feel like peanut butter.
Do you?
Just sitting next to you.
You didn't want to be on camera, that's for sure.
Shannon's gonna update us on the potential or timely loss of C and D pit.
Our permit ends in September. I did put out a few questions. So our options. Okay, let me back up. Our permit ends in September. Somewhere along the line in November of 2017, they changed the regs. Stated that it was on their website, they put out feelers, the questions, I never got any of that. I have 10,000 emails from 10 years, never got anything. So, but with that said, their regulations changed in 2017. They didn't put it out to print until 2022. And in 2020, they renewed a 5-year permit. So I'm a little lost on all the regs and how it's even possible that we have a permit if these were to take effect when they were supposed to.
It's in 2017, like how'd you get them?
Yes, and I asked that and I got no answers.
And you see, the major part of this is that the materials allowed to go into the C and D
Yeah, I'm gonna-
changed.
yeah, so we have,
About a membrane, too.
yes, so we have 3 options. Option 1 would be to close your pit.
That's not a good one.
Then we want.
Okay, what's the other one?
Okay.
Wait,
Option-
you led with that one, okay?
Option 2 would be renew our existing permit, but we can only take concrete, brick, glass, and tree limbs, all of which none goes in our pit. We have the cleanest pit in the Adirondacks. We take lumber and shingles.
That's what I think.
So I was just gonna ask, so the biggest things that you take now that's not on that list is
Yeah.
lumber and shingles?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is,
And we grind everything, so our space is, we've got years left in our pit. At least in the amended portion of the 3 acres is the 1 acre that we expanded on. Let me backtrack on something too, before I give you option 3. When they changed the regs in there, it stated that to renew, you also, in order to be closed, had to have met capacity. We're far from it. So there's a little loophole that I think that should work on our behalf if we were to,
Look for an extension.
yeah. So what I did, all right, option 3 would be to take everything out, put a liner in, put everything back. Now, with that said, I got thinking about it after our meeting with Caitlin and Patrick and Paola, or whatever her name is. And I emailed them, asking them these questions. If we were to ask for an extension, could you possibly give us a year or 2, extension on our permit to figure this out? Because obviously we did not budget for something like this. We weren't aware of it. I also asked if there was any kind of grants, if there's any grant money out there, so we can put this liner in that they want us to put in. And if so, now we need another permit to take the stuff out,
And,
pile it somewhere,
right,
and then put it back in when we're done. So,
Line a surface,
yeah.
take the stuff out to put it.
Membrane that they want you to put in is about 3 inches thick, I think,
yeah.
on top of the clay that we already did. And we actually went above and beyond what we were supposed to put down and added extra. So we should have been okay, but I guess it doesn't matter.
Did you hear anything back from the Wizards?
We put it to Albany, we're waiting for an answer. So
Okay.
unfortunately, I don't have an answer from the DEC as yet. Haven't
Talking-
heard from Mark or anyone. from
5
the
engineers.
To find out if they can go back on the, part 360, and find out, with that little paragraph saying that, we didn't meet capacity. We should be okay and should be getting a renewal.
Yeah.
But now they're saying, well, that wasn't the intent. Well, it's in black and white, so as far as I'm concerned, you should be giving us a permit, but that's a perfect world.
Yeah. The short conversation I had with Mark you know, I sent him that stuff so he could see. And he was pretty well versed in the way the state wants to go. And he said certainly looking for an extension probably is the best option, but they're very unlikely to let you put the same materials in there with an extension.
Oh, yeah, they said,
Yeah.
oh, we can give you the permit, but we want you to put these items in there.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, why would you wanna put that in there?
So and I guess the best information you gave us was that in the last year, we really only took in 38 tons.
Yes, last year was our lowest year in years.
Yeah,
Because a lot of these places now, when they demo, they don't wanna, pick and
Yeah.
pull and. So they're like, oh, I'm not gonna go to North Elba because,
I can only do shingles or lumber.
yeah.
You can't.
And when I say that when they go up there and we see something, their loads get checked before they even get to that pit.
Yeah,
And if there's anything in there, they're turned away or told, you wanna pick this out and put that in, then fine. If not, then go somewhere else,
so really the question is, do we still want to provide a service for our local contractors and working locally here to be able to put lumber and shingles like we have been doing in containers in Holland? But to do that, the cost to us is gonna be
Well,
exorbitant.
the other problem is everything that we do with garbage goes to
Goes-
Circle, goes to Franklin County,
Right.
which is all through the
County,
county. And they're already having a problem with containers and whatnot.
I know,
So I don't see us getting a C&D container unless we were to buy it ourselves and haul it ourselves. And if we're
Right.
gonna do that, we might as well get in the garbage business totally and haul,
right,
then cut everybody out and.
yeah,
I agree.
How much does that reduce revenue?
I'd have to give you that, I couldn't tell you. I would say we're usually 200-300 ton a year. Maybe 350 a ton a year in C&D at 185 a ton. Do the math.
We lost a lot.
I don't do that.
Yeah,
Joe, no, my job is to punch numbers into a.
So.
$200
Ton, just say an average.
$400,000.
$1,000, there you go.
So that is really big. What about, with the deal with Casella? With that kind
Well,
of.
we never got anywhere with that. I haven't heard back. Have you heard back from
No.
Bill? I haven't either.
They're probably just sitting back waiting to see what happens with Circle at the county. Listen, there's so many ways to play this poker game. Yeah,
But if we had the means, to go back, if we had the means to take in ourselves elsewhere, but not using the county or Circle, whichever you wanna call it, we could actually increase revenue. God, I hate opening my mouth. Because then if we had a container to get rid of this stuff, we could take commingled loads where people don't have to sort it. You could actually take more,
Yeah,
right.
you know what I'm saying?
We would
If were
actually
to do it
be
ourselves, but it's-
making more on the construction because of the fact that
Investment would be.
they
Yes, your
won't
investment.
separate anything.
Right.
So any wires and stuff like that is just gonna go get landfilled, but you're gonna be running trailers probably 2 a day.
Right,
And
And-
On C&D.
and a maintenance shop for, I mean, everything that goes with it.
CDLs.
No, we have, I mean, we could utilize highway guys. I mean, we probably would need a couple more CDL drivers, but because we would have to pull at least 2 drivers from him that have class A's.
this would be a net positive if we pursued something like that.
I think so.
If you could do it the staff you have now,
It's not.
all you have to do, all you'd have to do
Yeah,
is
it's not
buy the
enough
trucks
time.
and the
Yeah.
trailers.
Get 40.
The stuff that's
tons.
there isn't ours, so
Truckloads,
it's
that's not
not.
worth it. If
We
you're there
would
to
have
take.
to.
The determining factor is where you haul it to.
Right.
Malone Franklin County just got an okay for 5 more years.
Right.
You can never look down the road far enough to
No.
think that it's,
I think
Forever.
the picture.
I mean, you got the burn plant too, where we already
And
took
say,
time
is that your
I mean,
best
they take all that.
option?
to do anyway, so.
what it boils down to is service for Adirondack residents that are losing that.
The problem with the DEC is when they do all these reds, and if you look at the one set of, what was it, Article 27? Something like that, it all had to do with Nassau and Suffolk County. And the guy's like, well, you don't know where that is. I go, I'm from Nassau County, so yes, I do know where it is. And you make all these rules for the yahoos down there. And you don't think about the Antarctica Park. I have neighbors that burn their garbage. I can't get a burn permit to burn in a secured area at the transfer station. It blows my mind
Yeah.
that who's making these decisions?
Albany, that's a problem. They
Yeah.
don't see like logistics
They're-
where we're at in the middle of
They're
nowhere.
dumbasses.
Right.
Sorry.
Challenge everything we do to.
So then out of this info, how do you feel we should move forward? Because there's no way we're gonna win a long time battle with the state on this C and D pit.
No, but I'm gonna push for them to give me an extension until we can figure
But will we look for an extension to take the same materials?
what we're taking now.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm pushing.
What does the
Okay.
county do with construction debris? Do you know, or
No, they,
can we just shove it
I
in the
think it-
trailer?
Anyone-
I believe Lewis has a dump place, but it's containers.
Yeah. All their transfer stations are just that.
Just a,
There's no,
yeah,
no one has a landfill other than us.
right.
Next
And then
year's
the-
community pickup day.
The other problem, I never,
Think it's from-
that's.
Come on out.
You're gonna find a lot of this on the site.
It's also, yeah.
You're gonna have the resident who says, well, I'm not driving this tomorrow, or I'm not. And they're just gonna chuck it in the woods or go down the road and huck it off the side of the road.
Or,
And then we're gonna be picking it up anyway at taxpayers' costs.
or they're gonna get a burn permit like you can get.
There's, just too many lazy people out there. They don't wanna burn.
Yeah.
if we did close it, it can't go, that these materials can't go in the regular trash.
No, so if you put a ton of lumber in one of those trailers and then you start compressing, they're gonna pop out the sides. It's only aluminum trailers. They're not strong
Shingles
enough. to
might
hold.
be, but it shingles.
Shingles, the problem with that is the ram. It jams up underneath the ram, so, and then it'll plug it.
The conveyor,
Yeah,
yeah.
so the ram that pushes it compacts it all. They're aware of this. I've told the county that all their scrubbers are gone. They needed scrubbers on it. They talked about giving us a new garbage compactor. I don't know where we're at with that right now. Todd's not answering his phone now, so. I don't, Jason's the one that talks to me now.
Yeah.
'cause
I think Todd's still trying to finish that report for E DEC.
Comprehensive, yeah, he asked me to help him with it, but I haven't heard, so I'm assuming he's got a handle on it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so the compactors we have couldn't even handle,
Do you want to wait for a reply from Albany on your questions before we initiate?
well, I
You
mean.
already, did you,
they-
you asked for extension?
Yes.
Yeah,
I asked for at least a year, 2 would be great, just so we could,
You were thinking of like putting pressure on Billy Jones or something?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
that would
Seems
be
like
ideal too.
September was the date to wait. How long do you think we should wait for a response before Derek or somebody has to reach
Oh,
out?
I'll give them till next week,
Yeah,
then we gotta start, cause
We wanna-
technically, when you are renewing any kind of permit, it's 180 days prior.
Oh,
yeah.
And I started my permits at the first of the year,
We may get to.
knowing that I had a lot of permits this year.
okay.
Thanks for the
Good
update.
news,
No,
retired, yeah, October 1st. I'll just.
no, just try to.
Well, while we're here. It's been made about our tandem truck, but what are we gonna do? I have not replied.
Yeah.
We're paying,
You're gonna pay.
Yeah,
yeah,
only because you have good.
So far,
You
yeah.
have good history with it.
I want something in writing that they have it insured. Because
Oh, if it's,
technically it's on
that's
the
a good
truck.
point.
Right, our truck is in somebody's yard in the next couple of months before the body.
Yeah, some guy comes along with a shell in it or something.
Right, okay. Well, we have until the board meeting to get that information, because I told him when I talked to him that it would go through the board meeting. And he was fine with that, so.
The other decision we need to come up with fairly soon is the columbariums. I finally, Father John travels more than Emily does.
I think that.
No, Dick, he's in a different league. You guys are in the minor leagues, he's in the majors, Dick. But who's Dick? Did you say?
We all know.
Well, I said to him, I was like, are you stopping in this year? And he's like, Rick Scott. And I was like, okay. I want
I finally caught up with Father John and he said, you know, I was thinking the same thing and we don't have anything.
I know, I don't know what you're talking about.
The columbariums, you know, they delivered them. We have a deal, handshake deal with them, that it's a 50-50.
For every purchase.
Right.
Okay.
And they'll let you and all that.
Yeah,
What
no.
happens if this guy dies? What if he sells
We
the
have
business?
nothing in
What if
writing.
we don't have any like type of contract to,
Well, then we get all the money.
well, yeah, they won't get the money,
Or the person who buys it from them brings their
right?
crane up and steal their columbariums.
So I just think there should be some simple language of. In his I mean, they do, you know, just saying, you're passing the sale of your business, your termination of your business, that, I mean, somebody's gotta be
Right.
responsible to continue on what he kind of promised us in my feeling. Somebody's gotta etch those nameplates.
Yeah, I agree, there should be some.
And the St. Agnes would be in a real pickle.
Yeah.
There's, one is full.
That might be a good thing.
Hey, how would you like more people involved in the decision-making process?
Don't you enjoy that?
Cause I got an idea for you.
That doesn't have to.
Job with the family.
We don't leave without him.
I don't know, let me, before you speak, let me say this, how long do you want me to stay?
No.
Now that she's eligible for retirement.
Have you determined that?
What?
You're
Oh,
eligible
yeah.
for retirement?
Soon as we turn 55, we're eligible.
Oh,
And she's got 20 years.
I'm not.
I'm gonna be down there.
Yeah, I'm in my 21st year, so I can leave any day. Bad day.
So
Roll her eyes.
we have all
No.
those committees that are around it. I feel like everyone knows where this is going, maybe. And not that it has to go this direction, but
It's not the arts.
yeah, I was gonna say, like, maybe working with the Development Commission or probably technically the Appearance Committee about how to spruce up the cemetery with the trees gonna.
You can, do whatever you feel necessary, I'm all
I'm
on board.
I'm gonna chime in because I've been getting a lot of
Again?
feedback from people.
I'm like, yeah, she's straight.
There. Now that
Yeah,
she's-
so then why not, but how great would it be if you could say the answer was, well, the town has a committee that's called the Appearance Committee and they are drafting a plan for what.
Who's on this committee?
Bunch of young.
There's not even.
Being recorded.
She's like, "Oh,
I probably had words with some of them, but I'm gonna tell you, some of them want the trees back, and I think that's the wrong.
And I'm happy to be part of that, to say that we're not gonna do trees. I already pushed Kenny for trees. He gave me 25 reasons why we can't have trees.
This should be made safe and maintenance friendly.
The fencing that is around the beach is what I was going to propose, that nice black iron with the caps down.
Dick might have a different.
And then
Yeah, I think
the entrance, either we get those big barrels, or, and I hate to say, DDJ approached me about putting hydrangea bushes. The hydrangea bushes, I don't mind.
Intermittent perennials or whatever.
or
could
like
add-
climbing, but like they're like the committee to ask, and I feel like you'll stop getting so much pushback if you're like, no, we're working with the Appearance Committee. And I feel like Rick occasionally sits in on those meetings.
Yeah.
I did talk to her about the
I got
fence.
tolerance.
I wanna sit in my car and like I wanna gouge my eyes out,
I know, I did
I'm open
speak to
for
her
any
about the fencing,
suggestion. I just
and
think
she
that-
was for the fencing,
Okay,
but I said, but I
Maybe
do
if you want-
think that we need some
Yeah.
more color.
yeah.
We need some.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think like
Planting
vines or
Yeah.
something like that.
If you get
And
a
I do think it
research
would look better,
committee,
but like the Appearance
they
Committee is
can
definitely. gonna have
research.
their own
There
opinions,
are,
And they said not.
different plants that are dwarfed.
As long as they understand they're not the.
Right.
final
6 feet,
decision.
8 feet.
Yeah,
That-
which is.
It's just-
probably-
And listen,
That's a big
It's
thing.
tough for them to understand.
Salt spray from the state, and they're what killed a lot of trees.
I think
that
you should-
exactly.
I think-
So that's
Should
all.
put up a stamped concrete wall like they did through the notch. Cause the iron fences get hit and
So,
they bend.
with that decision.
Speaking of, the adjuster came
I don't care.
finally, and he looked at the estimate and he says, you know what, Shannon, I'm gonna tell you, go ahead and get this. He's going to put in for the entire amount.
Okay.
He's going to instruct the insurance to go from afterwards. So we call the fence company to get them started. Because I need that date before events start.
Oh.
But that
pickleball
stamp
and
concrete wall
everything.
that the state put in on the notch is holding up pretty well. I mean, they
That
did
wall
that.
was
when-
originally built by Miss Father and grandfather.
Right, maybe it could be a combination of all for.
Because that-
That's her portion.
That wall was
Trees
put in when
and-
Shirley C was still supervisor, so it's gotta be going on
Trust me,
15 years.
10-foot wall. or-
living through the wall,
We just need that.
across the street. And don't wanna go there.
Yeah, I think about very black fence is perfect, but I think like somebody from the appearance committee, which will bring in Judy Shea, who, you know, really likes to talk. And they'll have some ideas on plantings too, like there's, like, actually it's mostly made up of like garden club members, I was saying, so.
As long as it's not anything that's going to grow into the ground and undermine.
Yeah.
They don't have the decision-making ability.
But I'm saying like, I bet they would like draw a sketch, and,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like they.
Tap into a group of people that are enthusiastic
Yes.
and give us some ideas.
Who knows, maybe it's a combination.
Anything.
We got 30 feet of fence and a 6-foot opening, it's perennials and
You may run into.
let them go, let them loose. Let
I'm
them
not.
loose. You're right.
There's stuff that doesn't need like a lot of,
Need that.
yeah. And I think if a friend is with.
We could build it up if we needed to. And if we needed more soil there, we could go up with it. Yeah, sure.
And I wanna make sure that at each entrance, that there's 2,000-watt bulbs that point straight up in the air.
Well, that will go.
For our dark
Dark
scouts.
So they have to go like this too, right? And
Yeah, like a representation of the World Trade Center.
Do you want one of those guys that stand?
Well, we haven't. Do that too.
Kenny, would you like to be present at a meeting, or do you want me to?
Oh, no, her and Judy Shea get. That night at VC, They had a
Get
great
my seat,
What if
we can take you along? I was like, yeah, I would watch the game. She was like. I like the fence. We'll talk. Oh, by the way, did Jamie Rogers get a hold of you? I'm like, no, why? We need to plant a tree somewhere for Arbor Day.
Your lawn,
that my beer is getting.
Mike, if it's a
Yeah.
bush.
my $14 beer.
Do you understand how it's? Where did you go? I didn't bring my.
Their topic of conversation, no, it's not on here. The topic of conversation for their last meeting, which I was actually in my office because I can't really handle it. Was about the Christmas lights going like this instead of going like this.
I brought that up to someone,
On the.
and they said, that's the truth.
Yeah.
It looked terrible going, I said, when they lit you off, Jesus.
I have, I.
Melody took it.
I don't like it, but I, it does look terrible when it's something like this.
at our door, cause there's.
It was like-
They should be weaved in and out of the,
And they should be spiraled around.
no, you gotta go in on the branches like this.
What I
And
find
then-
Not like this.
everybody has a level of OCD.
No, it drives me crazy, but I was just like, I'm just gonna keep looking past this.
At the synagogue, we don't care.
So you're just you're on the church board for fun? It's always a limit.
Both ways, but they-
You gotta get up.
Artificial trees,
Yeah.
we'll put them around the real trees and then they can just go paint about that.
The web on there.
I alternate. Every year.
I've never.
Well, they will be so excited to have this task, so excited.
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah, you can give them her phone.
No,
This, this.
one thing.
Trees, like I would say, trees are out of the question.
Yeah.
No cedar hedges.
Yeah.
I still say that concrete wall is your best option.
Concrete wall's terrible.
You stamp it and it's pretty colors.
No, but I
I've been driving by that one in the notch for 15 years.
The entrance.
But somehow I feel like we don't.
That gangster stuff.
I'm anti-wall. I will bring it up to the hearing.
That's a lot.
Pillars. Entrance, not entrance.
Yeah, I think pillars by now.
You have to have pillars to hold the lights.
That's, he's saying that.
Underneath one.
Yeah, a
They
combination.
gotta be out far enough for them to make that turn.
Anyway, let's let
I'll tell you,
them.
if you drive a 10 pickup truck, You realize what.
Suggestions, and then we'll pick apart.
Muchly, I appreciate it. That's fine.
You could tell,
I think I don't
we'll be here
care.
in 2 months and it will all backfire on us and they'll be like writing letters to the editor about how we did listen to them.
Is that gonna be
Just to
like,
confuse them.
you gonna do the committee report part of this then, next,
Yeah, because actually I think they meet on Monday.
Well, it's a perfect state.
Sure that I'm late on Monday.
that we're moving forward.
Right.
That-
And that's it. Then this committee's.
That being community resources for ideas.
Yeah,
Yeah,
looks good.
because the only thing we don't have yet is the money. I mean, I got 9 months.
If you keep this on, look up for our budget meetings, then what are you gonna do?
Oh, yeah, we have a few of them.
Get a point.
We still have to finish work on the chapel too.
I know it. We'll combine the two.
The
We
door
did
and
enough
the
this year.
steps have to be done.
Really. Good for her. Nancy, she wants to get it done.
It's be done. That
She
door
wants
is
it to
rough.
look nice for when you have to occupy it.
We've gone this far. We haven't kind of finished. Yeah, that's not the folder.
Doesn't, yeah, it doesn't.
No, That's where the cold storage.
Oh, the vault. Yeah, the cold storage.
My idea was to be able to have closure, you lower them into the floor, small service. Then people don't argue about when is,
Right,
you know?
done.
They're getting a service, they're getting some closure. Okay, we'll be back in the spring to put them in the ground or whatever you're gonna do.
Right,
But at least they can do with their immediate family, a little something and. You know, it helps with the grief. You know, I get, not being able to finish a funeral when someone dies, but.
But that's literally the way it is in all winter.
It is, and people, we were one of the only ones that still did winter.
Yeah.
And then when we stopped it, it was like,
There's a reason why whenever you look at other papers, it says spring burial notice.
Right.
and then when you explain to them that you're, destroying everybody else's to get to yours, they kind of understand.
I think the dust is kind of settled, I think. Yeah, I mean.
Except when someone brings them up.
You just seen someone die at the wrong time, and you're like, damn it.
I know.
yeah.
Just.
Couldn't wait.
Yeah.
That was the day.
Like,
Have a
Thanks
good day
for taking
tomorrow.
time.
that might.
Okay, so here's Sharice's email. She wanted me to, oh, God. Wanted me to make sure that you guys got it.
Well, I think I
She
just,
did email it to you.
yeah, I saw
But
it.
she wanted to make sure that you got it, so I did my duty.
This is,
That's what Sharice just sent, your request for her, so she.
You're not going to this now, do we?
It just has to be done by email late if we don't do it now. I'm just getting worried.
Okay,
I thought you solved this. I'm trying.
Are we taking a moment with this?
I don't know.
I don't, I mean, I'm just.
I'm misreading, so.
I mean, this is good. This is, a month ago I asked for this.
So,
So,
Just looking back to what I was saying, I just don't know if she needs someone to like mentor her or.
She is
Yeah.
not a computer person.
yeah,
Well, Derek isn't either. He's a better.
It's okay. All right, so I have a few things. Derek is aware of this. We received a couple bills from Turf Management for stuff that they did at the athletic fields last year. Totaled just shy of $40,000. So they are in our system to be approved by you guys at the next board meeting, but depending on your feelings, I'm saying we just hold on to them for a couple, before we pay them, because they waited 9 months to bill us for some of the stuff. I think that they can wait a few months more to get.
Have you communicated with him about why the bill is so?
It's the same, it's the same every year. They do this consistently every year.
So when we closed out our 24 books, did we know this was coming?
Nope, because for whatever reason, I thought last year with Matt and Chelsea, things were different, and I didn't know that this expenditure was sitting out there.
I mean, I'm just as guilty because probably I should have tried to keep track because I know we're in the $50,000 to $60,000 a year range with them. But
So,
a strict warning went out 3 years ago when we got a $50,000 bill late. It's not that his work is very good, he's very needed, but there are also, and it's not his fault that there are charges in there for lining the field 6 or 8 times that I'd asked. Matt was one of the very first things, put 2 guys to learn how to do that.
so we had budgeted for 2024, $45,000, and we spent 46,000 before these bills came in.
Before,
Right,
yeah,
because they keep
So
shooting.
I wasn't thinking that there was more waiting to come in. When Butch was the park district manager, I guess he had a good relationship with him, I don't know, whatever. He would always get a 2 or 3 page summary from Turf Management saying the schedule of this is when we're gonna do it, and this is what we're gonna do, and this is how much we think it might cost. And every year when we had those, Rose and I could go through and tick off, okay, it's June, did we get this invoice from them? And we could keep track of it a little bit easier that way. So at the end of the year, we could call and say, hey, we still haven't got your bill from October.
Right.
When are you gonna get it? It's like, okay, we're working on it. And then, January it would come in and
Well, you were looped in.
we were looped in. Last year,
Here.
that didn't happen, so I guess I just assumed because we had a different manager that there was different processes happening.
and what's happened in the last year, there's no more services of Jim to Horse Show. The big grass ring is gone, and that was considerable. And I don't know if you remember, but we had to fight with Horse Show to pay $11,000 for the services to the big grass riding ring.
Yeah, but those are bills that go to those particular locations, so this stuff is for the athletic
Right.
fields.
I
Specifically.
think we need to come up with some scope of work.
Yeah,
Well, I think maybe that's where Jeremy's going with asking you guys for that new position for
Right, yeah.
Canadian
Well,
Showground
that's
and
to
athletic
replace-
field.
That's to replace Jim Gerard.
Right.
But if we're
So-
gonna use Jim at all,
For transitional time.
we need a scope of work.
right,
Otherwise, he's just running amok with,
yeah,
I'm not saying inappropriately so,
Right.
but in one of those bills, I saw rugby paint. And rugby paints their own fields. I don't, yeah.
So anyway, so there's that. So having said that, I talked about this with Derek. And I went back into to answer your question, the books are not officially closed yet because I haven't filed with the state comptroller, which is due on Monday.
right.
That's the deadline. So as of Monday, they'll be officially closed. Like I won't do anything else. So I put those 2 bills in the annual report. Rose put them in for this last batch that's gonna come to you for the board meeting.
Yeah,
And once that batch is posted, it will hit the books in 2025. I'll do a journal entry to move it back into 2024 as payable.
And then it will just sit out there waiting to get paid when you guys tell me, go ahead and cut the check, we don't wanna fight with them or whatever.
Right, and of course, please understand, I wanted it put back in 24 so that moving forward, Jeremy has like a zero starting point. If he sees 2025 expenditures that are erroneously showing $40,000
It's gonna
more.
skew things for him.
He's over budget before he starts.
Right, yeah,
So, I did email this annual report to the board.
right.
So I don't know if you care, if you had a chance to look at
I
it.
have it in that
comments,
binder. You
Anything like
guys can
that.
see it on my desk.
The one that he has is not with these changes. There's only a couple pages.
Right.
$40,000 out of the park district fund balance. So if you're okay with all of that, and you don't have any questions for me, I'm gonna just go ahead and file it. And be done with it and take it off my list.
The timeliness of payment. Part of these, like, just pay it here.
Yeah,
I know.
I
We're
mean,
gonna pay it sooner or later.
Right, I know.
Could we leverage it? I don't know if it's necessary, but to get that scope of work that you're talking, maybe communicate with Jim's company to say, okay, this is what you do, like, call him and then we can kind of pay him on that.
Jim's company, Jim.
Yeah, but I was assuming so. But it just said, we get that scope of work that you're seeking.
And he'll need to know what it is, because if Jeremy gets this position filled, Jim's gonna be hopefully cut down
right,
75-80%.
and keep
At
in
least
mind,
we'll know what he does so that we can transfer efficiently.
all those charges are legitimate. That's actual work that was done. I
I
don't,
don't think that's ever been.
I don't, yeah, I don't question that. However, Jim plays a pretty vital role in supplying Craigwood with all our chemicals as well. So there's a point, I don't know if we shop, if we look for chemical prices, other places. So,
Let's leave that up to Jeremy.
yeah, right,
If this
because I'm,
St. Lawrence person,
yeah, I'm really hoping for a mutual transition, if you will.
Yeah.
So that this new foreman actually works with Jim, understands the way he's thinking against what he's learned. This is a young and an old, where we've got lots of years' experience against someone new that's gonna try to make his mark.
Are you thinking 25 or like the end of 26 going into 27? Is that like a 2-year sort of overlap?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we have to talk about equipment. Because, top dressing or core management, taking cores may still mean a contract with Jim to come up and do those physical things with equipment.
Without Jeremy having that, say he doesn't fill that position, even if he does, he still has like Camp Placid, still has Craigwood, still has all.
And of course, what we're talking about, we haven't even talked about 2 more major soccer tournaments. That's more wear and tear. So this isn't a finite problem. It's an evolution of our growth.
Does the school use Jim Jar?
yes.
They don't do it themselves.
So it's
I'm sure the school has its own issues.
So do you want me to just say, go ahead and cut the check and
Yeah.
just pay him?
Sit on it for a couple of weeks.
yeah. And
I have no problem sitting on it.
And listen, you should know I plan on having the talk with Jim. Cause this is reoccurring and it just can't. Especially at the end of a year
Right,
where we're trying to wrap things up.
right.
So did Jim produce that narrative for you that you used to kind of follow along with like the scope of work?
Not for me, for Butch. I'm assuming Jim did. I don't know if he had somebody else
Oh,
who,
Butch gave that. to him.
which
So
would,
he generated it himself.
Yeah,
Jim put, it's on turf management paper.
Oh, so he did.
Jim would make this list and give it to Butch, and Butch would use that to help create his numbers for budget.
Does anyone reach out to Jim to say, hey,
Where?
did you give it? And they got lost in.
and we don't know if that was even presented to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I have no idea.
Maybe he did. Raise a copy somewhere.
Jim's a real good guy.
Well, if
Yeah.
there was, it's gone now because they shredded everything.
Well, I imagine he has a digital.
Oh, maybe,
Probably.
yeah.
All right, so.
You had to type
He's
it.
not a
Someone
computer person.
someone had to type it up in front of me.
So I just talked to, Kenny about the cemetery trees. He said we're cut down. And I don't drive around town, so I don't know when this stuff is getting done.
Yeah,
He said that the guy Kravitz just finished those. I haven't received an invoice yet for him. But that was going to be a budget amendment this year because we're
Yeah.
taking money out of fund
highway,
balance.
yeah.
So there's that. And think, I have to double check. I don't think we've gotten the bill from Mitchell for the grinding that they.
Wasn't that $38,000?
I'll have to double check. My mind is not, I can't remember.
Or- No, maybe it was an estimate because he had downtime. He did some damage this year. And a welder had to come in and fix it while he was here.
Yeah,
I do
see,
remember.
I don't remember any of that, so I'll have to go check. So there might be those two items as budget amendments, for
24.
general, no, this will
No,
be
you'll do-
25, but
okay.
it'll be out of fund balance from the general fund and partially from the highway. And we decided to do that with the splitting it for the trees. And then Derek was kind enough to forward to me the coronavirus recipient email that says, we're gonna take your money back.
From Doge.
Yeah.
Oh,
Probably.
that's one thing I will-
Right. So I'd like to go through the list. Did you bring your list with you?
Yeah,
Now,
ARPA,
to understand that the ARPA funds are all expended.
Yes.
They all went to water and sewer and community appreciation, etc. And I have the list here if anybody's interested in looking. So what's remaining, what the wish list was, that now will have to be funded through budget amendments out of fund balance, which we have plenty of right
Wait,
now.
So they did take the money?
They're not, we
What was
spent
that?
it all,
That
so
was-
I didn't see that high.
Like, they say enough on it.
So doesn't the wish list go away?
Well, it's still, it's
no
still,
way in hell.
it's still a list of things you
I
guys.
just wanted to say that out loud.
Right? It's still a list of things you guys want to get accomplished. Now we have to find the money out of fund balance instead, right? That, because we're not obligating anything, we have nothing left to obligate. Let's get recorded, right? Yes. Okay, perfect. CYA. So I still have fencing for Raybrook. Thirty
Yes,
thousand, that's gonna come out of the funding that we receive from the DOCCS, because it's all part of that project, right?
right. So, but,
For the water tank, no?
Yeah,
so don't put a minus in front of that.
no, I'm putting DOCCS H032, because if and when it gets done, that's where it's gonna get spent.
So that tells me I still got $30,000
You have, of what?
from fund balance.
Fund balance.
Yeah, okay.
Everything that I talk about now is gonna come from
You
fund
just want to
balance.
thank the close.
In some manner. So what you guys need to understand is none of this stuff is in the
Right,
budget, so if we
That's right.
spend it, it
It's
is
fund
coming from fund balance.
yeah,
Right. The Craigwood deck, if it gets done this year, would be out of the park district. The cameras, I don't know where and what you're talking about having cameras installed.
okay. We're talking about Craigwood for sure.
Okay.
With all the new equipment out there, we want a camera on
Like the pole
machinery
barn
shed,
area, yeah.
the pole barn area. And we want it on the parking area and the golf carts. So there'll probably be 3 cameras up there.
Okay,
It's all security oriented.
okay,
Then there was cameras proposed for athletic fields.
okay.
Again,
Yeah.
parking lot and field, so injuries or anything we might have to recall.
What about at the beach? You
Uh,
like outside, like looking at the,
there are
water- the
cameras at the
shoreline,
beach and
there
there are
are?
the villages now.
okay, so we don't have to worry about that,
And we already have cameras at Toboggan.
right?
Where was the other place? We
Transfer
have,
station's got them.
yeah,
The airport's got them.
yeah, we didn't talk about showgrounds because we aren't to the finish stage where we can determine right where we want it.
Okay, so, but generally speaking, that $50,000 is pretty much all park district venues.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
And then you have 20,000 to finish the showground kitchen, but you said most of that's been spent and you just need to get a freezer now?
yeah, right now, that's all I need. I
Okay.
got the fire suppression done. You see, originally, that 20,000 was the Olympic torch restoration line. And we got into back and forth.
Yeah.
All we gotta do this year is paint the base of that. That will be
Okay,
little to nothing.
yeah. All right. So it's just a freezer and you think, let's just say it's $1,000. Okay. And that's also Park District. And then there's the dishwasher for Craigwood, which was fixed, so we don't have to worry about that now.
That's right.
And then I don't know what this Raybrook control panel, I haven't been able to
I
find that.
called Brad.
Yeah. what-
He goes, yes, we fixed it and probably it's a bill that's sitting that we haven't
Okay.
billed you for yet.
And that's also a Raybrook, so that's gonna come out of the
That's right.
Raybrook Fund. And Emily had proposed a Lake Placid Hall of Fame plaque or something, committee, something?
No, I think it wasn't it.
Contribution?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Hall of Fame still doesn't have a home, so nothing right now.
Okay,
Yeah, you can take that out.
yeah,
Cause you did a modification last year, right?
No, we still have a home. We tried to, I don't know, I think I don't.
okay, all right, so,
Should the Hall of Fame at Showgrounds be two Hall of Fames?
Yeah, the Hall of Fame literally is a new home, organizationally and physically.
Yeah.
So, sure. I mean, remember we had talked about even doing it in these halls, but it's like the public in general doesn't like. What was nice about where the Hall of Fame used to be is that people would see it in the arena when they were walking through.
So are all those pictures down now?
Yeah, they have been for a while, because Mike Pratt put it on
I
the,
saw them last year.
no, Mike Pratt put it on the screen, so it was like a kiosk.
Oh, okay.
But that's it.
The only question I have in looking at my list,
Mhm.
we allocated 40,000 for the West Valley Sidewalk Engineering. Okay, which has been paid for, but there was also a $5,000 added amount on there, which added Cummins Road maybe?
so I found out in doing the annual report this year that sidewalks are a general fund expense. In the highway,
Oh.
because that's where
It made Cummins. Yeah.
historically, that's where it was, because it was a town outside village fund.
So how did you pay for Swazo?
Well, Swazzle was in the DB fund and I had to do a journal entry, moving it out of the DB fund and into the A fund. And
Okay,
it was one of the budget amendments you guys passed,
okay,
probably February's meeting. So it will come out of the general fund balance.
okay. So really that wraps up all the rest of mine. Just to go back to the 30,000 for fencing, certainly we don't believe it's gonna be $30,000. But the health department has been after Brad to get that fence back up. He and Ivan have met and are gonna say to the health department respectfully again, no. We wanna get the pumps and the test wells and the ditches and the lines brought over to where approximately where the new pumping station's gonna go. Before we put up fence and it's gotta come down again.
Right, can't you, don't they have like construction fence, temporary fence up already?
No,
Around that? I mean. It's back in the middle of nowhere, who's
Right.
gonna get in there?
yeah, well, that's what we hope nobody.
Okay, well, anyway, so, okay, so the general fund balance, we are still at like 36%, where we should be at like 25. Having said that, if we earmark 45 for the sidewalk, it's not gonna change the numbers that drastically, so there's probably some
50 or 60.
a little bit for the cemetery. If you have a project out there like the Hall of Fame
Oh, okay.
or something like that, that you wanna
Let's
commit
just
some
fund
fund balance
cemetery.
to it, keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
Don't give him a blank check.
No, I said keep it in the back
Listen,
of your
you
mind.
can see the wheels turning.
I don't know.
I mean, we've
The
already
highway-
gotta address those damn stormwater management in between the tent pads. That's gonna be material.
That's park district, that's not general fund.
So highway fund is at like 50%. And that's after appropriating money for the trucks, which this one that we're gonna pay, I'm gonna ask for a budget amendment. For the amount we're actually gonna pay for the truck body, but also for the quoted, the total quote, which is also the rest of the truck that they have to do. So that's $316,000. Even after that, we're still at 50%.
Maybe I floated an idea.
Yeah.
Is anyone concerned about the fiscal outlook for our nation over the next 6 months to 2 years and maybe
I'm not
outside of what
gonna-
Derek wants to tie up?
I'm not gonna
Maybe
be
we can
here.
consider
I'm gonna be down in Argentina. So I'm good.
I know this, at the school, we always were over and every year we got our hands slapped.
Yeah,
But,
But the school school districts have to abide by a different set of.
but, so,
4%. Thank you.
It used to be 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so what's gonna happen? We're gonna get our.
Nothing's gonna
slapped.
happen.
So why are we worried about having? too
I'm just-
much?
I'm telling you guys where we're at, so you know.
No, I didn't know if
Rick Carroll never was concerned with the $4 million
if
fund
there was an
balance.
audit. You know, if.
Well,
if-
oh, so we will be audited this year.
So will the auditor bring up the fact that you're over?
They'll say, oh, you have a fund balance policy. Oh, you're not abiding by our fund balance policy. Shame on you.
tell them we have to. back
It'll,
up.
it'll be a comment, I forget what they call
And
it.
the negative. coming
We
down.
get,
There's
we
nothing-
we don't get a clean audit anyway, so it doesn't,
Right.
Yeah, it's.
doesn't
We've
matter.
gotta cover 1.5
We do
million
not,
on the Lodge Road before we get our money back.
we will not ever have a clean audit until and when the town decides that they want to hire a firm to inventory all of our physical assets and another firm to calculate our post-benefit employee benefits. And until we spend money for that and have an audit every single year and spend money for that, we will never have a clean audit.
Well,
Having said
the
that-
only negative things that you would be concerned about are internal controls or something that
Yeah.
would show some sort of inappropriate behavior.
Right.
Right,
That's,
right.
anything else is just a negative comment, which is.
So,
Yep.
the biggest detriment for us, probably by not having an audit every year, is our bond or our bond rating. Cause we have to go out to get debt for the sewer stuff. I mean, there's no way
Right.
we're gonna cover that. And we can't bond for that locally, cause it's just too big of a balance for the banks to, you know.
Do we know our port, well, we'll find out in the
So,
SWAS meeting.
Um,
With that sewer, even though we got 3.7, we still may have to come up with 2.
yeah, right. But we have to cover 5 million total. Because it's a reimbursement grant.
So you can get what's involved, band.
You can do a ban, a bond anticipation note. And I did have a discussion with Carr last week. I said, you know, and I think Mark was on the call too. What about instead of doing a full 5, if it's a project that's gonna take at least a couple of years, if not longer, why don't we just do a bond anticipation note for a couple million? Because as you pay and then you can submit for reimbursement and you know, and like a CDBG kind of thing. you know.
What's the funding source though? Just wondering what the reimbursement rate is
I
like.
think it's the EFC. Think
It is something environmental, but I don't know if it's EFC.
EPG.
What's the, cause the EFC is through the village was 0%.
The 250,000 is for EPGs. I
Yeah.
don't know about the big one. That's, I have a call
I
scheduled.
think
with
it's
them.
for the Environmental Bond Act or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
What is our bond rating?
I believe when we went out to bond for Mirror Lake, because we had to do a public, it was an A minus. It was pretty good,
Yeah,
considering that we,
Because our debt
considering that
load
we've
is,
never had a, no, and our debt load's gone down since
Right.
then, so. I'm hoping that it'll still be around, you know,
It got us a 2.6% rate at that time, which was good. So anyway, there's that. Park District, we're at 44%. And I will be asking for a budget amendment for the snow.
Yeah,
push,
for
the-
Airport.
That's, no,
Oh.
this is for the Park District, Jeremy said he talked to you guys in February and said he needed a plow for something.
Oh, yeah.
And you said, oh, we could take it out of the CTEF. But I missed all of that conversation. So when I saw the invoice come through, I'm like, well, where is this supposed to be? Because it's not in the budget.
So you took it from Park District?
I'm gonna ask you to.
Is that the 7,800?
75-45?
Yeah.
So it's not CTEF, it's not for community
Well, I
enhancement.
was just trying to,
Were we trying to say that it was for like to get toboggan ready?
yeah.
I don't know, but
That was the one. that-
so. Just fund balance? Okay, I'm good with that, that's fine. Okay, so this showgrounds and athletic turf superintendent position. You guys approved.
Yeah.
Was there any discussion of like a starting salary? 'Cause
Yeah,
he
but
did
you
not-
don't want to hear it, yeah.
Is it more than I make?
No.
Well, then it's all right. How much?
Yeah,
Are you, what, like 70, 80, 90, what?
There's a range.
I think
65 to 75?
maybe.
Just
Sounds-
plain
Jeremy's
purposes?
83.
Jeremy's 90.
90, yeah, he's right under me.
75 to 85 or 65 to 75, which will turn into 85.
Well, I mean, then negotiate, right? If you want to get somebody good, it's been, okay. And then the resolution, you guys have that on your list for the 50,000 for the daycare? So
Yes.
that will be all set to go.
And that.
That's,
Oh, because Rick.
it's
updated
Rick's
it.
resolution,
Yeah,
yeah.
for, with the added language.
Yep, with the CTEF.
Right.
I don't get how the CTEF works with daycare, but I'm sure that.
Because it lets the parents work.
County's agreements, correct? Like the cat,
I
like.
don't put that shit.
I'm saying that like in theory, I feel like the county would agree with that.
Well, yeah.
Because how can, you can't have tourism county if you don't have staff and it goes back to.
And that's why it's key to put in there that it's specific to North Alba residents and those that work in North Alba.
Yeah.
Speaking of CTEF accounting, are we changing that system?
Well,
Well, you guys know my opinion on the whole thing.
yeah, and I basically was easy in suggesting that we were gonna go back and control it all, and then it would reverse when Leafs.
They would submit to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll need to work on that, and I think it should be a work session with MJ and Dan. Yeah.
Cause the other thing is that we have moved the CTEF funds into their own line, correct?
We have a fund set up for them, yes.
And so it was always my intention that whenever something was gonna be a CTEF funded project, that Haley would, like, if it was like a town project, right? So it's like we're using our own money, that Haley would still go through that process of like paperwork and documentation for the county.
Right,
Because I still think it's a valid exercise even though it's gonna be done internally and we're the ones already saying yes, it still is like.
I haven't given Haley anything for our expenditures out of that, but it's all been billed back to Roots.
Roots.
Yeah.
So it's all documented.
Yeah, it's less about that and more about just saying like, this is what we've spent our CTEF money on all in one place. And Haley's documents are things like, how does it benefit the community? How does it benefit tourism?
So
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, like here's the whole file.
Okay.
So can you talk with her about the childcare stuff? Cause just maybe mention to her, can you do a CTEF form for the childcare money?
So I apologize. I'm sure we've talked about this before and I dropped the ball. When I
Did a
send the,
policy for it.
when I send the invoices to Roost, I should be giving Haley a copy of them?
Yeah, and then Haley, which we've had conversations before, but like I will reiterate to her, like if she sees that come through, she needs to do like a CTF form, which is kind of like the cannabis form, you know, we've developed that form. It's basically like a pared down,
It's just an accounting.
yeah, it's a pared down leaf
So
application.
basically, it's the same thing as an outside organization
Yes.
applying to Haley for funding. And you guys approving it. and
We're just like
Posting.
justifying our own
Okay.
use of it so
Gotcha.
that it's, because it's the approach, so showing that it's the appropriate use of those funds.
So she should be getting it before we spend the money, not.
I don't think that necessarily matters as long as there's documentation.
I think she's a repository of the information. In no way is she directing the communication correct or making a decision. So she just, if you CC her in the thread, she can fill out the form based on.
Yeah.
That's all I'm thinking.
Okay, I will try to remember.
Ambulance money.
It's still pending payment. Is it good to go?
I'd still like to stick with, I know we can't make any decisions here, but I'd still like to stick with half and half. Give them half now and then,
This is the first I've heard of that.
um. Well, I asked you if that was possible.
I mean,
You
we
said
can,
it would.
we can do it. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
I just put the sticky.
This is why
note
I need to
on
read.
So
Okay.
just, I'm
Send
having a
out
hard time giving anybody money when there's no audit trail or necessarily a need for it. So who I've talked to about it, but you know, if we give them half of what their anticipated need is up front, and then half in August after we see their July books. Now the books show a need. So
If you think that's a necessary step, you know, and does it impair their ability to do what they need to do with it?
let's put it this way, I thought they were already given the money. And I've heard nothing.
So if
So
they
they,
really.
They really needed
They're
it.
making phone calls.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you-
If that's your thinking.
I mean, cause I can cut the check tomorrow. You guys already approved the voucher in the past board meetings, so do you
It's your call.
I'd like to do it that way.
50%?
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's not creating more work for you.
Walk up to my office is creating work for me, so.
Rick,
I'm like,
do you know
come
if the village is jumping on board or they still stick to the same?
Still,
Okay,
and that's, you know, talk about the money and accounting and everything else, and I've been looking at all of that. You know, is it right that the Mirror Lake watershed, the Ausable watershed, all of that comes out of our budget and comes out of the village budget? Should that be occupancy
It should
tax
be.
dollars?
I think so. I think when we start
Start
doing.
pushing shit occupancy.
Well, what it's gonna do is decrease the amount for leaf.
Right.
Yeah, but they're, in a way, those organizations are the ones that are asking for it
Right.
anyway.
Or similar.
But the rule that's in the leaf guidelines is you can't reapply.
Oh, that's true.
But they
it's
haven't,
not reoccurring.
they haven't applied to us. We put it in the budget. I think
But it's like standing money, like leaf you can't reapply for, so it's different.
So this is
like-
one way to do it, instead of, but the thought process was always, they didn't do it, or to some extent, that would be a service that we have to provide and be extra more
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
So I think that was the
Like-
notion.
The recent one was ARDA, the rail trail, put in a leaf grant for porta potties.
Right.
Well, they just did that last year. So it's a reoccurring, so they were denied. Now ARDA, what are they gonna do for porta potties?
And does it, like you said to me, does it fall back on our town? Because it's our people that are gonna leave the trail a mess, whether it's waste mess or garbage or.
Just sitting in the ARDA meeting that I had to sit on because somebody was on ski.
Thanks for doing.
You know, they were actually anticipating that money. And
Okay.
when I saw that it was denied for reapplication,
So then, let me ask you this, as a board, should we consider our side of the fence, but securing a service like that.
Something has to be done for,
I mean, rail trail, what we did, I mean, we did the 50,000
right,
for the grooming. So I feel like we're involved, but it isn't rail trail specific.
correct. It's, these porta potties are just out of control.
Well, did you see that bill? On how many times they run to clean extra?
Yeah.
What was that bill? $48,000.
Still doesn't seem sustainable.
And
It's
it,
not.
and how long a term was it for? It wasn't for the year.
No.
Imagine
This
there's
is
a fair amount, it's heavily used, so that's a positive, but it
Yeah.
just doesn't seem like it's.
But keep in
sustainable.
mind that that porta potty, grant was for all of the rail trail.
Correct.
So they probably looked at Lake Clear and outside of North Elbin said, no, we're not.
But then what did the bid come in for the bathroom with the NBT parking?
Yeah, $1 million.
What?
1.3 million
Yeah,
to replace the bathrooms in that parking. lot.
Wow.
And now they're looking at the trailhead down there and saying, how much is it gonna cost us to put
right.
bathrooms here? Can we even afford it?
So comparing that.
Tell
obviously,
people to sit before they leave their house.
The long term.
Yeah. How'd you have to?
Okay.
Are you guys doing a,
Yeah, imagine it's welcome.
executive
Well, I
thing?
have a 3-year-old.
Are you doing an executive thing?
wanna do one?
I just wanted to ask you a couple questions about a couple of our employees.
Yeah, I can, it's probably on my list for.
Motion to go.
I'll make a
into-
motion to go into executive session. You second?
Yeah.
All right, all in